Say hi, Doe.
No.
Okay. Hey guys, welcome back to Their Teacher Skates. My name is Christine, and this is our YouTube channel chronicling the mostly lighter side of our homeschooling experience. So today we are going to attempt to accomplish a near impossible task, and that is to cover a lot of information in a reasonable amount of time. And just to make it a little funner, baby D and my 6-year-old Lyric have both been feeling a little under the weather, so we've been pent up for the last couple of days, and everybody is on the road to recovery today, but not quite well enough to resume our normal activity. So if you see littles at some point or we have to break, now you know why. So I have a fun fact for you. Homeschooling has been on a steady 2 to 8% rise in recent years, but it took a sharp gain in 2020 due largely to the global pandemic. Here in California, those numbers are likely to continue to increase with Governor Newsom's recent proposal to require vaccinations of all school-age students by 2022. And it's not that we're anti-vax in this house. It's just that I would like to say about what I put into my child's body. Different topic, different time. Today I want to speak specifically to the families that are brand new to the homeschooling community. And yes, it is a community. With that, I would like to personally say welcome to it. So we're a second year homeschooling family, and when our children were born, I had no idea that this is the path that we would forge. But as our children grew closer and closer to school age, there was just this nagging feeling that I couldn't ignore. So we did Montessori for preschool, and I am in love with the Montessori method, but it's very pricey in our area, and it was not feasible for our budget for the long haul. Basically, for 2 kiddos from preschool all the way through 6th grade, it would be about the equivalent of, well, let's put it this way, it would have a price tag that is more than most people spend on a rental here in Southern California. We also had to consider, after 6th grade, what our next move might look like. We did VBS over the summer last year, and our secret goal was to see if it would be a feasible fit for our family. Come to find out that there was a major bullying problem there, so that wasn't gonna be a go for us. And that brought us back to good old public school. Public school. There are just too many incongruencies there to list in this video, but I'll just leave it at it didn't seem like it was going to meet our needs. But that's the super condensed version of how we arrived at toying with the idea of homeschooling and what that might look like for us. Suddenly the 2020 pandemic hit and it became a no-brainer. So the first year for us homeschooling was actually pretty rocky. I had a super squirmy kindergartner and a tween at home. And by tween, I mean an in-between infant and toddler. That coupled with being in the throes of lockdown orders, the general stress of the pandemic, and we hit a few speed bumps. And if I could do it all again, I would give my then kindergartner a totally different first year homeschooling experience. So this year we've made some drastic changes, and this year it's paying off big time. So today I want to take some time to share some of our first year pitfalls so that you may avoid some of those same mistakes. I also want to cover 5 terms to get you started on your homeschooling journey. And lastly, I have an incredible tip for first-time homeschoolers, and I'll share that right at the end to wrap it up. Okay, so let's jump right into it. If you haven't already, I'm totally going to encourage you to hit pause right now and grab a pen and a piece of paper because you're definitely going to take notes here. For those of you that are already on point, feel free to keep the tapes rolling. I have a few highlights from our week that I can go ahead and share during this brief intermission. Awesome. So as you can see, we keep a pretty dynamic schedule going this school year. We have a really great balance between challenging and engaging core curriculum, plenty of time for extracurriculars and outdoor activities, and just a general good flow. So my hope is that I may be able to share some insight with you so that you can enjoy your homeschooling experience as much as we do. So with your pen and paper handy, please do jot down some notes and allow this to help you start to get a snapshot of what homeschooling might look like in your home. Okay, so the first term is charter school, and it's a great option if you don't want to send your children to school, but you'd still like some of the structure and perks of a traditional school setting. You may have to do a little bit of poking around, but charter schools do exist all across the country. And a lot of them allow you to enroll even if you don't reside in the same county. So don't be put off if you live in a rural area or an area where there aren't quite as many resources. Okay, excuse me. So here's what charter school looks like for us. We do all of our schooling from home. We are given a curriculum menu from which to choose our core subject curriculum prior to the start of the school year. We also have the freedom to supplement with just about anything, so long as it falls under the secular umbrella. And we are going to talk about that term a little later in our video. We're also assigned a teacher of record, and that is an accredited teacher who essentially is there to answer any questions, help us along the way, and keep us accountable. I did see that, son. I am really glad to see that baby D is starting to feel better. Sure, I'll see it again. Although I'm not sure how productive we're going to be from here on out. So bear with me. So as I mentioned, we do follow a traditional public school year calendar. That's more or less from the month of August through May. Our charter also offers meetups. They offer field trips. They offer school photos and a few workshops as well. And of course, we can choose to participate in any of those things or not.
What's up, Mom?
What's up, boy? Okay, so I would say one of the biggest perks of going the charter school route is that we receive a twice annually stipend for which we can use on our curriculum. We can use it for extracurriculars. We can use it for school supplies and other consumables. Although there are quite a few restrictions and the process for which to apply those funds can be fairly tedious, overall I would say that it is a major perk. Okay, so a couple of potential downsides. It can still feel a little more restrictive than doing your own thing and applying for a PSA. And again, we're going to talk more about that term in a little while. You also do follow the traditional 9-month on, 3-month off schedule. And not that that's necessarily a big downside, but you are locked into more of a structured schedule than if you were otherwise just homeschooling on your own. One of the potential big downsides to charter school is the mandated testing. Because it is a public school, you are required to test twice yearly and more frequently if you're not meeting the state requirements for the standards. And the reason that I say it's a downside is because a lot of times in the homeschooling world, we're allowing our children to work at their own pace and explore their own interests, and sometimes they're going to pick something up more quickly or differently than they are being taught in the traditional public school setting. And so it's typically a poor reflection of what is actually being absorbed in the homeschool classroom, if that makes any sense at all. Okay, so charter school is definitely something that I would encourage you to explore if you're brand new to the homeschooling community. We're going to go ahead and move on to our next term, and that is going to be PSA. I can't actually speak too much on this from a personal standpoint because both years that we have done homeschooling, we have not had the need to file for a PSA. But I do have friends who have gone this route, and also I've done a little bit of research on my own. So I will at least get you familiar with the term, and you can poke around a little more if this is the route that you feel that is going to be the best for your family. So basically what a PSA is a form, or rather a series of forms that you file with the Department of Education if you plan to homeschool your child or your children. Okay, and this holds true whether you plan to homeschool, use faith-based curriculum, use secular curriculum, or even unschool. Basically, they need to have record somewhere, and that's what the PSA does essentially. The next term that I want to define is the term co-op. And so that I don't get this wrong, I want to go ahead and quote it specifically from the parents.com website. It defines it as follows. A homeschooling cooperative is made up of several families who meet regularly at libraries, churches, community centers, or homes and work together towards similar goals, which can be based upon socialization, education, activities, or any combination of these. Okay, so if that isn't straightforward enough, let me go ahead and break it down further. So a co-op is a group of families that meet regularly and basically school together. It's that simple. And of course, each co-op is as unique as the families that make it up, but generally they follow some of the following guidelines. Typically, they meet at the same time each week, or even several times a week, depending on what they've agreed upon. Hi, Del.
Hey, Mom. I ate all that.
You ate it all up?
Yeah.
Cool. What are you gonna do now?
I want that. Mom.
Generally, the families share equal responsibility in teaching the curriculum as well as providing supplies, etc. So we joined a co-op this year, and it was definitely the missing link to our homeschooling experience. I'm going to go ahead and share a few details about...
Ow.
Oh, you okay?
Okay.
You okay? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me go ahead and share a little bit about the co-op that we are clicked up with. And this should give you some sort of an idea about how they function. So in our co-op, there are 7 families total. It's comprised of TK through 2nd graders. We also have many younger siblings in attendance, so there's definitely a lot of freedom there. And I'm very grateful that baby D gets to join us each week for this wonderful experience as well. We meet once a week on a Tuesday for 2.5 hours at a very gracious host family's house in their backyard specifically. We cover 2 structured learning periods that run about 20 to 30 minutes apiece. Those are bookended by 2 free play periods where the kiddos can socialize and do some real imaginative stuff. And then we also have a picnic style lunch each week where each family just lays out a sack lunch on a blanket in the backyard, and we really enjoy just getting to interact in that way as well. The way the formal learning periods are structured, our host family actually conducts the first learning period each week, and then the second learning period each week is on a rotating schedule amongst the remaining co-op families. And we also celebrate each major holiday as well as birthdays, which I think is a huge perk. One thing that became incredibly apparent when I became a parent was that we were never going to have Pinterest holidays. It's not in the cards for us. It's not that I don't have an interest in doing that. I don't ever seem to prioritize it in my life. So once again, some of the major perks of being involved in a co-op. Number 1, socialization. We are pretty plugged in to extracurricular activities throughout the week, but being involved in this co-op is a surefire way to ensure that my kids have a structured period where they can exercise those social skills. So second, this particular co-op is a STEAM collective, but we have sort of determined that our primary focus is going to be science. What's really neat about being involved in this co-op is that we are simultaneously satisfying all of our science. Also, the other parents involved in our co-op come up with some really neat things each week. It keeps it really fresh, and my kids are constantly getting a super rich hands-on experience. There are so many more amazing things about being involved in a co-op, but in the interest of keeping this video at a reasonable length, I'm just going to make mention of one more, and that is resources. So joining this co-op has opened up so many opportunities for me to be plugged in with other homeschooling families. And I say me as a homeschooling parent, but really, obviously, my children benefit as well. But it's just an awesome way to connect with other homeschooling families that are trudging the same journey. We can go ahead and compare notes, and it's also a wonderful way to gain insight and learn from other homeschooling families. So if you are wondering how to get plugged in with a co-op, as with anything homeschool, you are going to have to do a little bit of digging, but they do exist everywhere. And if they don't, then be brave, start one of your own. Do me a favor, leave a comment in the section below if you are interested in a video specifically on co-ops. And otherwise, we're going to go ahead and wrap up the subject for now, and we're going to move on to our last two terms. Okay, so the last two terms that I'm going to demystify are curriculum and secular. Curriculum is basically the subjects comprising your area of study. And there are a million, and by that I mean really there are a million options out there. So I'm not here to sell you on any one curriculum today, or any day for that matter. The curriculum that's going to be the right choice for you and for your family is the one that aligns with your goals, your values, your children's learning styles, and your teaching style. So all I can say on this subject is this: if you are brand new to homeschooling, please don't get overwhelmed by all of the options for curriculum that are out there. If you are truly clueless about the direction that you want to take, I highly encourage you to take that pen and paper right now and start to brainstorm some of the defining things that I just mentioned above. That is, define your values, your homeschooling goals, define your child's learning styles, and start to paint a picture of your own learning style as well. Then start a Google search, an exhaustive one at that. Simply type into your search bar, first grade language arts, faith-based, or third grade science curriculum, experiential learner. There is no doubt in my mind that you are gonna get a solid return. Also, don't be afraid to read reviews on curriculums, on online forums, and ask questions, lots of them, and watch YouTube videos. There are plenty of wonderful ones out there.
What am I?
What did you make?
An elephant.
You made an elephant! That's a wonderful elephant. You gonna make a purple elephant? Okay. But above all, please just don't get overwhelmed. You're gonna be fine. Your kids are gonna be fine. Truly so. Okay, we're moving right along. The last term that we're gonna cover right now is the term secular. And I wanna make perfectly clear that there are two streams in the education world. One would be faith-based and the other would be secular. Although, and this is the part that I really want to drive home, secular does not necessarily mean atheist or agnostic. We're actually believers in our home. We have chosen the secular method of homeschooling for our own personal reasons. And really, I just thought that this would be a helpful term to know if you're new to the homeschooling community, as many families choose to homeschool based on faith-based practices or to preserve their beliefs, although not all families choose to homeschool for this reason. Okay, we've covered quite a bit here already. I hope that so far I've been able to shed some light on what homeschooling may or may not look like for you. As promised earlier, I have a couple of gems that I'd like to share before we go ahead and sign off. So the first is a couple of pitfalls that we fell into, and the second is the very best piece of advice that I can offer to any new homeschooling family. Okay, so the first pitfall is trying to structure your day too much like a traditional school setting. As I've mentioned in other videos, homeschooling can be uniquely yours, and it can be just as unique as a fingerprint. Learning happens best when it's organic, not to mention that the traditional public school is inherently structured for classrooms of 30 or more students. So really, when you put it in those terms, it would be rather silly to make an effort at mimicking that. And the same is true for the structure of your homeschooling day. I actually talked quite a bit about this in my last video, and that's linked above. Go ahead and spread it out or knock it all out before 10 a.m. The choice is truly yours. The right way to do this is really what is best for your family. During our first year of homeschool last year, I thought that it was going to be best to follow a very traditional structure. My children woke up, we ate breakfast, we did a couple of quick cleanup things and got ourselves groomed for the day, and then we jumped right into our homeschooling day. It's not that there was anything wrong with that, but it did take me several months to realize that my 6-year-old was a lot more responsive when we structured our day a little differently. So this is how we do it now. Now we wake up, we do our normal morning stuff, once again, eat breakfast, take baths, that sort of thing. And then we head out and we run any errands that need to be knocked out. A lot of times we find ourselves at the skate park or going on a nature hike, depending on where the day takes us. And then we come home just before lunchtime, and that's when we knock out the bulk of our academic day. I am a morning person. Personally, last year, if you had told me that this is what was going to work for us in our school day, I would have thought that I was going to feel really discontent with this schedule, but it's actually working really well. I still have that sense of accomplishment halfway through the day because we've taken care of all of the errands and other necessities early in the day. So really, by the time 2 or 3, sometimes 3:30 rolls around, we still have everything done in our day, both academically and domestically, that is necessary. And then we can move on to leisure time and move into our afternoon extracurriculars and evening dinner and so on. And then lastly on that example, I find that if we get some fresh air earlier in our day, maybe get some exercise in, my 6-year-old is a lot more likely to stay engaged during her academic day. So it's a huge win. So I would say that the second pitfall to avoid would be pushing too hard to fit a certain ideal with the structure of your homeschooling day. Don't be afraid to be flexible, be open. It really will make a difference. We're gonna go ahead and wrap this up here, but as promised, I do have one incredible tip for you, and it's this. If you are brand new to the homeschooling community, do yourself a favor and grab a buddy. And no, I'm not necessarily suggesting that you find a friend and drag them to the dark side of homeschooling, unless of course you're fortunate enough to have somebody nearby who is also strongly considering it. But really what I mean by grab a buddy is this. Join a group online, check your local Nextdoor app, community bulletin boards, even head to your local park during quote unquote like normal school hours, and take note of the other family that is there. And no doubt there will be another family there. And that's typically a telltale sign that they're on the same path for education issue. Not always, but your homeschooling spidey senses will be sharpened as time goes on. They truly will, and you'll start to be able to spot them throughout your community. But here's the second part to that, is you are going to have to be assertive. You're going to have to be forward. You're likely gonna have to be more forward than you may have previously thought that you were comfortable with. I personally am a very introverted person by nature, but I have over this last year and a half been able to push myself quite a bit out of my comfort zone for the greater good of my family and for this experience as well. And of course, a buddy is great, but a mentor is going to be even greater. So formally ask another experienced homeschooling parent to be a mentor if you feel so inclined. And with that, the buddy system is the very best piece of advice that I can offer. It's going to help you feel not so alone in the first part of this journey. And believe me, you're not alone. The homeschooling community is a wonderful and unique community to be plugged into. And once again, I am so happy to welcome you into it. Okay, that's it. That's all I've got for you today. We are Their Teacher Skates, and these are reels from the mostly lighter side of our homeschooling experience. Feel free to join us on TikTok and Instagram for some smaller doses of us and to catch some of our antics. And also, please do us a favor and show your support of this homeschooling family by hitting that like and subscribe button. It truly does make a difference. All right, we super appreciate you. We're signing off.